Hey everyone, welcome to another Hot Take. I'm Tony D, and we're talking about the only thing that's ever in the news these days, Trump. Uh, Trump did it again. It's just amazing how the brain drain coming from news media has just left them absolutely incapable of pivoting. So here's what happened. Newsweek runs an article blasting Trump. Guess what Trump's doing in his Thanksgiving dinner or his Thanksgiving holiday? Come here, doggy. You want to come up for the video? Here. I have to pick you up. And now you're here. Okay. Doggy wants to say hi. Hello. So they ran this article saying that Trump was tweeting and golfing during his holiday, which already isn't much of a news story, but you can see that it's a slam against Trump. They've been doing this for quite a while. I've always said that guys like Trump work when they golf. That's like partly work for them. They golf with their clients. They golf with business partners. That's how Trump works. And even, he's tweeting. He's working. He's working the media, that's for sure. Well, they had this story all prepared, ready to go, because they got a hold of Trump's itinerary or whatever. And lo and behold, he ended up in Afghanistan having Thanksgiving dinner with the troops. Wah, wah. So Newsweek had to go back. They didn't even retract the story. They just added an addendum to it as if that's the way they always wrote the story. And as if Trump had time to go golfing in between getting on a plane and flying all the way to Afghanistan. It's just ridiculous. And it's not that I'm, looking to defend Trump. It's just that I'm shocked and amazed that the media keeps getting things wrong about him. They cannot seem to get their act together. A few simple phone calls would determine whether or not he was in Mar-a-Lago, and they'd have that information. They would have at least known he's not in Mar-a-Lago. His plane has not landed. Air Force One hasn't landed. And then they could have said, well, I guess we better hold back on the story and wait to see if Trump actually, maybe he went somewhere else. And, this is something presidents have done since the Afghanistan offensive, whatever you want to call it. Bush was doing it. They decided at one point to make the trips for the president to visit the troops secret. So it was just a matter of time. I mean, this was in the mix. It was always in the mix, Newsweek. You should have known. It's amazing to me because when I was in college, I was taking communications and I took basic journalism classes. And, it doesn't seem like places like Newsweek or any of these other places even do the most basic journalism things. They just don't do it. They're just constantly jumping from one story to a next. They're like 14-year-old girls trying to gossip rather than news organizations. And they're not giving people correct information. There are plenty of people who saw that headline, when it was first posted, skimmed it and went their merry way and have, are convinced that Trump spent his whole Thanksgiving golfing and tweeting. And they'll never be disabused of that. And Newsweek should be ashamed of that. And for that, they should suffer financially for it. They should lose their readership because they're not giving accurate information. They're just looking for clicks. Everybody these days are just looking for clicks. And Trump he understands that. He understands that world to a surprisingly good degree for a guy in his 70s. I mean, he even went so far as that, he tweeted the Rocky poster, him being photoshopped onto the Rocky poster right around the same time. Media's still talking about that, and it's like, get off of it. It's not news. So many things have happened. One of my news sources is antiwar.com. I read it all the time. And it's an aggregate site mostly, and you could read about what's going on in the world. And, I turn on regular news every once in a while, and you just don't see this stuff. You just don't see these stories. People get killed all over the world. Who got killed? I believe the Iranians killed a bunch of their protesters. It's a pretty big news story. Now, I'm sure that one was probably covered because they're looking to slam Iran too. They're looking to gin up that war. But, a lot of times it'll happen in, places like Iraq or Afghanistan, and you just don't hear much about it. You don't hear about the soldiers who have died. We're still losing people. And it's just amazing to me how the media has just become nonstop clickbait garbage, really. It's just incredible. I would be pulling my hair out if I was a journalist today, looking at some of the stuff they just don't cover and do cover. It's really sort of tragic. It's fueling part of this divide in the country that, people are just so ignorant. So they fall back, I think, on a lot of tropes. There are these people who still believe that all Republicans are gun-toting, Bible-thumping, racist. And there are still people who think, Democrats are a bunch of commie, hippie, liberal types. And those tropes are not without their grains of truth, but, for the most part, that hasn't been true for a long time on both sides. Republicans, I went down south. I used to do Dragon Con a lot. And I was surprised at how metropolitan, a place like Atlanta was, and the people there were very cool and very normal. Even in some of the places I went outside of Atlanta, it was just normal people with Southern accents, not even that much of a Southern accent, really. And, I didn't find any problems in that area, really. I mean, it didn't seem like to me that people down south were these two-dimensional caricatures that northern news media tended to paint them. Just as I would defend New Jersey when I was in another area of the country and say, well, no, we're not constantly beset by crime, and it's not a battle to see how poor we can make our population, although sometimes that part of it is a little bit true with all our taxes. But everybody gets pushed these tropes, and when they don't have real information, they kind of fall back on them, because what else are you going to do, right? What else can you discern when you don't know about something, and you just kind of gather up the little bits of information that you've heard over the years, and you hope that it's enough to allow you to navigate the world. These media guys should know better. They're supposedly college educated, but again, it goes back to college and how horrible these colleges are now. People aren't getting a good education. Oh, and the other big news today, excuse me, Bernie coming out with his free college plan. And everybody's on Twitter crowing about what a wonderful plan. What a wonderful plan. It would benefit so many people. AOC was going on and on. It's not going to benefit anyone. They have free college in other countries. They have free college in Mexico. But, by any metric, you wouldn't look at the Mexican state and say, wow, everybody there has a college education and is so wonderfully educated. No, they still have the same problems they've always had. It's just that college is free to those who can afford to move to the areas and, not work. So I guess in some ways it's not truly free, but, to make it free in the United States, the idea that everybody should go to college, and you would essentially turn college into the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th grades of high school means that, you know, you're going to have people treat college as if it was high school. It's going to be a total lark. And then you're going to need something else beyond college to really be college, you know, to really do the academics. And that's kind of already happened. Used to be if you went to college for a 4-year degree, and this would be probably prior to like the 70s and 80s, you know, you were someone who was, you know, wow, you got a college degree. Oh, I was the first kid in my family to go to college. And, you know, you do very well. Now that's just not the case. Everybody has a college degree and it's worthless. It just goes to show you that when you give everybody the same thing, Andrew Yang, when you give everybody the same thing, that thing becomes absolutely worthless. Everybody has it and it was given to them, so it holds no value. If you give people a college education, they won't consider it valuable. They'll treat it with contempt because why not? You got it for free. What's it worth? You didn't earn it. It's just given to you. And then that given to you becomes, well, I deserve that. That's mine. So you'll treat it like a lot of people treat, you know, senior year at high school. Why aren't you going to class? I don't have to go to class. I mean, you know, I can go to class whenever I feel like it. This is my college. I deserve it. I get it. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the college experience, you know, which is something we wrote about in Segue, Wokeistan, a novel. That was very much about the college experience and how it's just degraded over the years. We talked a lot about how academics, you know, at this point, it's just all a big money scam. It's all a scam to get money for the teachers and the professors. They write books and then they sell them to the students because you have to buy them to take their class. And, you know, even back in the 80s, that was a scam. I had a screenwriting class. There were 2 books. One the instructor wrote and the other he co-wrote with the dean of my school. I refused to buy either one of those books. They were stupid, in my view. And, you know, I wasn't going to blow. It was like, they were expensive books. They weren't cheap books. They were like $50 a piece. You know, I'm going to blow $100 on books that just so I can line the pockets of my professor and my dean. This is insane. Now, that doesn't mean those guys weren't qualified, although between me and you, I don't think either one of them were very qualified to teach screenwriting. You know, I had another instructor too. She was a terrible instructor. I knew way more about screenwriting than her, and she taught advanced screenwriting. And she taught it very, very poorly. I gave her a terrible evaluation. I complained bitterly to the school, and she was taken off teaching that course the very next year. You have to know what you're doing. And, you know, when the professors don't even know what they're doing, when it's all just a big money grab, you know, when it all turns into how can we placate the students for 4 years and get as much money as possible, then you're in the realm of, you know, you're servicing your customers in some respects, but mostly you're just ripping them off because they're under the misguided impression that they're getting an education that means something that will lead to work, that will lead to a fulfilling career. And, you know, when you talk about a major like gender studies, which really is only good to teach gender studies, you know, you're talking about a self-perpetuating scam, essentially, a hustle. And that's what these colleges have done. It's partly they've been corrupted by money because they have so much money, because the government subsidizes these loans and, you know, these kids get loans for hundreds of thousands of dollars just to go to school. You know, the schools just come up with new reasons to raise the price, new perks, new things. You know, the meal plan for my nephew's college works out to about $17 a meal. and you have to buy it your freshman year. That's very high. $17 for a kid, for one person. I'm a pretty hefty eater. I could certainly eat less for $17 a meal. $17 a meal, 3 meals a day. You're looking at $51 a day. That's over $350 a week. You're talking $1,400 a month on food for one person. No, that is far too much money, and the schools know that. Okay, regardless, you could literally go out to eat every day for cheaper than that. You can go get a sandwich, at a fast food place, or even a halfway decent nice place. $17, it's almost like all you can eat sushi. If you skip breakfast, you could go all you can eat sushi every day. It's too much money. So, but getting back to my original point, which is the media, I think the media has been degraded because of their experience in college as journalism majors. They're just, and we wrote about this in Wokistan, like how they're just not learning anything, and no one cares. They get out in the real world and it's just write a bunch of clickbait nonsense and you'll get your paycheck, and it's not really what you do, it's who you know. There's no objective metrics to judge your talent. It's just all about, oh, I like this guy, let's hire him. He seems like a cool guy to have lunch with and hang out with in the office. And that's how most people get their job. And that's why you get this ridiculous coverage of Trump. And that's why he can so easily play the media. So anyhow, I've rambled on enough about Trump. Let's move on to the next video. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. And please check out my other books, including the Pineys Book 3, now available free on Kindle Unlimited if you have the Kindle Unlimited thing.